Okay, so it says Republicans call for unity, but won't acknowledge Biden fairly won. So it's a Washington Post article, which is probably behind a paywall that I am not interested in paying. Yep, there it is. Okay. Uh, you get one a month or something, and I had already looked at it, so now it's done. I think Democrats would be naive and gullible to extend any kind of olive branch to any Republican ever in the history of ever. That's all they've done, and that's why America is a right-wing fucking theocracy. Because every single time the left capitulates, every time, without fail, and the right never gives. And I think it's a mistake. You have the House, you have the Senate, you have the presidency. Go balls to the wall. There's no reason to try to unify or be less divisive. All we've gotten is divisive. Obamacare is about as milquetoast a policy that you can ever get. And it was called socialist, and they fought it vociferously, and they went after it. There's just no reason to try and say, hey, let's be friends now. Fuck them. That's all I have to say.
I mean, they potentially could do that right now, as far as they're like taking the power. But the problem is that I don't think your Democratic Party has the backbone to actually go through with any of it.
No, they don't.
No, they don't, and I don't think they have the political capital to do so either right now. I mean, the fact of the matter is, regardless, I can't say about, for Trump, but for the House side of it, they lost a bunch of seats, and it is possible and potentially likely that you're going to have like the Democrats of, say, like Joe Manchin or some of those more middle of the road Democrats that aren't going to go in all aboard with the policies of what you're just suggesting, of saying like, hey, we need to go balls to the wall. Your own party's not behind you in that.
The fact is that
I know you don't like the Democrats, a lot of them, but
that's another thing that pisses me off. Is when I see all over the place that Biden is a socialist and it's the end of the world and Biden's going to bring the socialist agenda and America as we know it is over. No, the fuck he's not. He's just not.
No, he's not.
I don't like.
I think that's a good point. Is that like if they had put in, say, like Sanders or Warren or
anybody else.
No, I'm thinking not like, because I think Buttigieg is kind of in the same vein as Biden was, or is. Buttigieg was in the same vein as Biden, where he's not really controlled by himself, right? Like he has
most
people who tell him what to do and how to do the things, and that I gotta give. I mean, I think Warren has her buddies in the establishment, the money and the rich people and everything, but at least she was kind of like pushing a lot of those like super progressive programs like you're talking about.
I think she got played.
Yeah.
She got played. Because she has a lot, you're right, she has a lot of progressive plans, and I like a lot of her plans. She made a lot of missteps in the primary process, and she got played by, I don't know who, but somebody behind the scenes. She made a lot of terrible decisions in her bid for presidency. And that was one of the things that pushed Biden to the front, was that she either got a call and we're going to do something for you, or the people behind her helping her make decisions were just stupid. Or
I think the thing that hurt Warren the most was the video of the guy who went up and asked her, said, hey, you want to forgive all the debt? What about me? I did the right things. I did the things that needed to be done to get my kids through college, being debt free, and I saved all this money, and you're going to make a chump out of me. And you're laughing in my face. And it pissed off a lot of people. I know I was mad about it. because it's just like you're literally laughing in the face of the people who did the right thing to put their kids through college, to make sure that everyone else who didn't or couldn't, which sucks, but you're making chumps out of the people who did. And nobody likes being a chump on that shit.
Right. So because a thing is bad and you were able to overcome it, it should stay bad. It should just continue on because you weren't able to, but that's essentially the same. Because it's bad and I went through it, everybody else should continue to go through it.
But that's not what I'm saying.
But that's
not the point at all. That's not the point at all.
It is
because the point would be
how are you
just rewarding people who didn't and punishing those who did? That's essentially what
how
you're
is
doing.
it a punishment? How is it a punishment?
I mean, I would like $50,000 or whatever it was of my college bill back, because I don't carry this debt around with me. So you're absolving money that people carry with them, right? So say you got $12,000 in debt. I'm not eligible for that $12,000 to go and invest in whatever I want to do. They failed in their investment. If you're carrying around that much debt, or you got screwed because you did something not exactly right. You don't have to go to college, but you accepted this $12,000 debt to go into college for the plan to make more money, right? So the people who didn't come out with that debt, they're just out the $12,000 that they apparently didn't even need to spend in the first place. They could just have been in debt. So you're talking about carrot and stick. You have nothing to make these people who went through it that way want to help out. There's a huge inequity here.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying that if you just wipe out the debt, right, which is held by the U.S. government anyway.
And they're never going to do.
Right, but let's just say they did. It's held by the U.S. government. And they just say, you know what, forget it. Right? You're saying that's giving them however much money. So you're saying going forward, there's no scenario where it wouldn't be inequitable to just wipe that out.
Correct. I think the things you could do would be freeze it, or you freeze the debt, you stop the government ownership of it, you kick it back to private banks and people who be a little bit more responsible with handing out money like that. And I think that's a big part of it, is the government-backed loans they're guaranteed. So it's going to get paid. There's no bankruptcy that you can never get rid of this debt. And
is it going to get paid?
But those big companies, so those big banks who take that, would have less liabilities in it and be able to take the tax write-off or whatever the loss, the hit that hospitals already do. It'd be something similar to that, where this person can't pay their bill. The hospital writes it off and passes it off to something else, and then you end up with this big bubble, but it's controlled. It's not this ever-inflating government-owned debt bubble that just exists.
Right. So that's a little bit different, because even then, let's say you have $40,000 in debt and it's not guaranteed by the government, right? So let's say. Then, so you pass that off to the banks. The banks now hold that $40,000 worth of debt. They'll say they bought it. Let's say they bought it for $10,000, right? So dollars on the, cents on the dollar. They bought a $40,000 debt for $10,000, and they don't collect. Now those banks are out $10,000. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, pass that debt off to a bank, I'm gonna be like, fuck that bank. I can wait 7 years.
You broke up a little bit. You make what? I lost you after fuck that bank.
I said I can wait 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
Till it falls
that's
off
not
my credit.
precisely
You know what I mean?
what I was thinking, though. I mean, the idea is that
So
the
now the
existing
banks
debt would be frozen. You cut off the interest and you say, all right, we got to pay off the down payment on this. And the government just owns all this debt. And so that becomes its one thing. And it would be for any new loans, new, college funds, education funds. So the existing debt would stay created by the banks, and then new debts, or whatever cutoff date you say 2025 or whatever, all debts after that moving forward have to go to this new program. And that, I think, could be privatized. You could do different things with that. It could go back to the way it was back in maybe 1995. I don't know what they were doing back then, but college was a hell of a lot less expensive then than it was now. So rather than just say, hey, we forgive all your debt, ta-da! Like, you can't just do that because, hey, it's 40% of the United States, like, revenue, or whatever their ridiculous number of, they actually collect that debt as an asset to the United States government, even though like 35% of the people just aren't paying it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Different things.
I understand what you're saying. I understand. I just think that, again, going forward, for somebody to say, well, it was bad for me, therefore it should be bad for everyone else, and everyone else can go fuck themselves. I think that's ridiculous.
It's fair, and I will 100% agree that it's definitely something that should be dealt with. But I guess the problem that I have with a lot of those policies, and as your initial statement said, is like, we can just wave a magic wand and get rid of this. I just don't think the world works that way, and I think it's a lot more complicated than that. There's better ways to do things than just say, no more debt.
Yeah.
Oof. Government just says okay. It's like the printing of the money, right? Oh, we have problems. We're short on funds. Let's just print a few more $1 trillion. I'm sure this will have no negative consequences.
Right. Yeah. But it's been proven that the way out of recession is to spend money.
Oh no, yeah, no disagreement here.
It's just a matter of way.
It just makes me cringe.